Here we are in the Hyundai Texans radio studio with head coach DeMeco Ryans. Coach, congratulations. How's it going?
Thank you. Going great. Feels great after a win.
Yeah. Always feels better after a win, and I know you head into the bye. A lot to discuss with that, but let's reflect on the game a little bit. A lot went right, especially for your defense down the stretch, playing some really nice possessions.
Right, really proud of the guys for the way they stepped up and made plays there at the end of the game to be the reason, right, why we won the game and close it out. Some tough situations, right? There was a really tough opponent, right? We were getting a ton of deep balls thrown on us there, and guys stood up. We got some good pressure on the quarterback, forced some in-air throws, and Steven Nelson coming down big time, right, with the interception there was huge for us.
Coach, I want to go back to something I asked you in the post game, because I know a lot of times how coaches think. After a game, when something doesn't go their way, it just sticks and it stays in their head for a little bit. And I asked you about Atlanta, and if you had that situation again, how much did you think about it? As you were kind of going through the week and you thought, okay, maybe this situation comes up again, were you thinking about how you would attack that situation differently, or maybe the same but do maybe some different things in coverage? How did you kind of look at that situation in Atlanta, and how did that help you in the situation against the Saints?
Yeah, looking at that situation again, like, just going back, just wanted to be more aggressive in that situation. I wanted to create pressure by blitzing a little bit more. You want to be able to, drop guys back in coverage and win with the front four. Right. But also I was just looking at, like, man, how can I help with the pressure? And I can help that with the calls, just being more aggressive with those calls. Now, man, I am putting some corners and DBs on the island there, and I just said, man, I got to put our guys in our position to be able to make a play, right? Challenge the receiver and go make a play, and that's what our guys did.
Yep.
You had 2 sacks, but you did get that pressure, and sometimes that forces a throw that's not quite as accurate as the quarterback would want, right? So you got a few of those.
For sure, and that's where, we didn't get as many sacks as we would like to. Had opportunities, missed a few, but it's like, how can you, right, speed the quarterback up, right? Speed him up to make a bad decision, to throw the ball away, and we forced, intentional grounding on one, right? Forced some bad throws just because we sped him up with the pressure.
Coach, one of the things that happened, and Mark and I talk about this all the time, because we think about it somewhat from a basketball perspective. You see in a basketball game where a team kind of gets on a run a little bit. Coach called timeout to kind of slow the music down, stop everybody. You had a moment yesterday where it looked like guys were lined up and ready to go, and you're like, I don't like this, and you hit a timeout there. And I know coaches want to kind of hoard those timeouts and make sure they have them for the end of the game. But we talked about that. Was that kind of one of those moments where you're like, well, wait a second, let's slow the music down here. Let's just make sure we're all on the same page before we go out for this down. Was that kind of the situation there?
Yeah, it was a situation. I felt like in that moment, our guys had the call, but I didn't feel good about where they were. Seeing some guys still moving around, kind of still talking to each other. It's like, it's just such a critical moment here.
Yeah.
Like this, we have to win this down. So, hey, let me just bang a timeout here just to make sure everybody relaxes for a minute, breathes, get under control. And that was why I called that timeout, and it worked out for us.
Yeah. All right, a lot to discuss here, but a few of the stops we wanted to talk about. The one on Kamara on 4th down, the second to last 4th down that you were able to stop, where it's a wide pass behind the line of scrimmage, and you get out there with Shaq, with Blake, and you have Petrie there just in case. Can you talk about that play and how it developed, how you saw it?
Yeah, that play there, it was I had pressured them, I think, on the first, 3 plays and wanted to show that same pressure look, and we just – I decided to just drop in coverage, right? And so the quarterback felt pressure, but it wasn't pressure. We were dropping out in coverage, forced him to check the ball down to Kamara, and then we had Blake Cashman coming out there as a curl flat dropper. He was in a good position, right, to come up and kind of force him a little wider, and Shaq was able to, he was playing cloud, so he was able to come off of his guy, come up and make that tackle there. Man, that was a close one, but it was it was exhilarating, right, to see a big time moment for them to make that play on 4th down versus a really, really good player that I was concerned about all week.
Well, I know it's got to feel good, Coach, when you make a call and sack or you get an interception or whatever the case might be. But when you see Derek throw the ball out to Kamara, you thinking, we got him. Because I'm watching that play again back on, back at night. And I'm like, oh, we got him with the disguise because you showed another pressure look and then dropped off in coverage. Did you know when, okay, this ball goes out to Kamara, we got him? Were you feeling kind of like, we got him, You just obviously have to make the tackle at that point. But did you feel like that was the perfect call? Like you were sensing kind of the same thing on a sack or interception, but you knew that was the right call against that play.
Yeah, I knew it was the right call to get him to check it down.
Yeah.
But then my heart just stops. I'm like,
He's got
okay,
the
we have
ball.
to tackle Kamara.
Yeah.
But I saw Blake coming. I was like, Shaq, please show up. He shows up right at the right time.
Yeah.
Man, made a big time play for us.
Tricky situation at the end because Steven makes the pick, but there you are pinned really deep, and you have to kill the clock and be alert doing it. You can't take a safety right there. Then you have the free kick, whatever would happen after that. So what about that part of it? Because Steven, after the first pick attempt, where he was going back and kind of, I don't know if he mistimed the jump or whatever, but it turned out to be a completion. He was not going to let that opportunity go.
Oh yeah, I know Steven, he was really upset. It was almost the same play he had versus Pittsburgh where he was on top, got through a post and he made it, kind of misjudged it, timed it just a little off and missed it. So he was upset. So I was happy he was able to make that play at the end of the game, right, to get the pick to seal it. But you look up and man, we're on our 2-yard line and it's like, oh man, I start thinking back to the game. I think it was a couple years ago. Maybe it was Buffalo and Minnesota.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they were trying to sneak it, and the quarterback fumbles the ball. Minnesota gets a touchdown there. So that was the only thing on my mind. I'm like, hey, we have to drive like we're running quarterback sneak. We can't just kneel it here. And, they came at us there on the first play, and then CJ was smart enough to, take it on the outside edge on the second play to get us some breathing room.
Coach, that's a unique situation, that one right there. And actually, I could see Bobby in the huddle talking to CJ, and I was like, oh, I know what they're talking about. That replay actually probably helped you to give you some time. But along those lines, how much time do you spend during the week kind of thinking through different situations that pop up? I mean, whether you see him in high school or college, and the West Virginia-Houston game the other night had all kinds of situational nuggets you could learn from. But how much as a head coach do you kind of go through those situations like, okay, this one's kind of wacky, but I saw this happen in a game. Maybe it's something I need to talk about with the team, or talk about with the offense, or talk about the defense. How much do you do that during a week?
Yeah, every week on Friday morning, our team meeting, we call Around the League, and we go through those situations that came up that week. Maybe it's something we can learn from other teams, things that happened and we don't want to happen to us. We kind of those are, I call it teachable moments. And so this past week, the teaching moment was really about taking your helmet off in the field of play. And it doesn't happen at the end of the Houston, West Virginia game. And so we were able to show those clips from that game, how a couple games that happened in the NFL, it didn't hurt the teams. But then you go to the Houston, West Virginia game, quarterback takes his helmet off, get penalized, ends up hurting the team. Hail Mary, Houston wins the game. So we're always trying to learn from other people in those situations so we don't end up on the wrong end of it.
Yeah.
I had a question about communication with the coaches because Bobby Slowick calling plays on offense, if he needs a timeout, he has to check with you. I remember Robert Saleh told a story on a podcast, on the McVay podcast, about and you were on the staff, he called timeout once as a coordinator, and Kyle Shanahan didn't like it. So I don't know how you guys communicate those things with each other.
That was funny. Kyle never lets him live that one down. Saleh just bangs a timeout out of nowhere, and it's, don't you ever call a timeout. So, no, Bobby, great. I'm always in communication with him. So, Bobby, I'm always checking with him, asking, hey, are we good here, play clock-wise? Because sometimes he knows, like, how many motions he has on a particular play, if we can get the play off in time or not. So, I'm always communicating with Bobby, hey, do you need one here or not? No, we're good. Most of the time, we're pretty good on it. A couple of those plays on yesterday went down to the 1 second mark, had me a little nervous, but hey, Bobby says we're good. I trust in Bobby, and he's been right on.
But he's not calling any timeouts, though.
No,
we got that right. Those are yours to spend. Nobody else's. Coach, you mentioned earlier a guy that may have been the best linebacker play I've seen here in a long time, and that was Blake Cashman yesterday. 15 tackles. I mean, the numbers are incredible. 15 tackles, half a sack. I think the most impressive thing in the last 4 weeks, he has been matched or running down the field with Calvin Ridley, Kyle Pitts, George Pickens, and then yesterday getting the ball out of Taysom Hill. I don't know what kind of Weapon X linebacker he is, but he's really given your defense something that maybe we've lacked in a while. What is making Blake fit into your defense so well and making the plays that he is?
What makes him fit in well is just the first off, the athletic ability, right? The speed, the athleticism at the will linebacker position is what we need, right? And Blake does that. He has dynamic playmaking ability, and he's shown that, right? And in our defense, the linebackers, they get put in some tough situations where you're asked to run receivers down the field, where it's not the case in most defenses. But Blake has done a really nice job of matching receivers, tight ends, and not only just matching them. Some guys can just match them, right? And they panic at the catch point, and they end up getting a PI or defensive holding or something because they panic. Blake does a really good job when it's at that moment of truth, as we call it. The ball is up, and the guy's going to make the play. Blake does a really good job of playing through the hands, finishing all the way to the ground. He's made plays all throughout training camp, right? Attacking the ball, showing up for us. Couldn't be more proud of him and what he did yesterday, man. Truly the defensive player of the game.
Coach Sheldon Rankins is in the locker room after the game saying, this is not a rebuild. We are here to win. We're not here to take our time. We're in this thing. Let's go. I'm paraphrasing a little bit here, but thoughts on your players believing in that?
That's what I want them to believe, and that's what I believe, right? And it's to play in this league is hard, and we have a lot of young guys, but there are also a lot of veteran guys on our team, and no one wants to hear about rebuild. No one. Every week you have a shot to go win a game. Like, it's just how are you preparing throughout that week, and can you go execute on Sundays? You don't have to be the best team in the league. Be the best team for 3 hours on Sunday versus your opponent. That's it. And with that mindset, we're in it. We're in every game. Games are close. Most games in this league comes down to a possession, right? And so it comes down to 7 to 9 points. And, man, can you operate in those critical moments, that third down, red zone? Can you operate efficiently, win situational football? And that's how you win games in this league. So I'm with Sheldon. I'm rocking with him on that. And I believe in the players and what we're capable of doing.
Coach, you coached him in San Francisco, and I'm sure you've had a relationship for a long time. But what has Jimmy Ward given to this Texans team and to your defense?
Yeah, Jimmy provides so much flexibility for us, right? For him, he stepped down. He played some nickel for us on Sunday. He plays safety. For him to be able to move around in multiple spots, not blink, coach whatever the team needs, I'm here to do that. Right? And that's the type of mentality. That's the mentality that I like about Jimmy. And Jimmy, man, he makes some big time plays. Great tackler. He had an awesome tackle versus Kamara there. I mean, he just flies around all over the place, he plays football the right way, physical. And I love Jimmy.
Coach, it's going so well for C.J. Stroud that he threw an interception on second down, and he ends up with a first down with the ball. So on that play, what was going through your head? And let's discuss his progress a little bit, because threw another 2 touchdown passes yesterday, really managed things well.
Yeah, C.J., I think he did a really nice job in that first half of the game, right? Getting 2 touchdowns, that was huge for us, right? That's the game, right? Converting when he can, man. He continues to make big-time throws down the field. Him and Nico, that connection is awesome. Noah showing up, making a big-time play. Dalton has really been, on a tear these past couple of weeks, all right, of changing the game and in the passing game for us. And CJ's done a great job of ball placement, putting the ball exactly where it needs to be. And with that play, I told him, I'm happy that he threw the interception so we can get that out of the way, right? And he can truly learn from his mistake, right? And what happened on that play, why you can't go there with the football, just check it down. And Nico, of course, coming through with the big time, force to get the ball out there, and Titus recovering that ball. It's a credit to, us talking about the ball each and every week and how important it is to us offensively, defensively. Hey, we have to go attack the football, and that was awesome by Nico of doing that with CJ and his growth to see them after, that turnover, to turn that around, to be mentally strong enough, to put that play behind you, press forward, and go down and have a touchdown scoring drive. It was big time for him.
Titus says he was the safety there. So would you have him in a Hail Mary knockdown situation?
No, we will not. Then we had CJ looking at it as the linebackers return the ball. We got CJ coming in, Shaq coming in for a compression tackle, and they both just whiff. I was like, oh, my goodness. Bert, we got to get them in some tackling drills.
But offensive player did have the only forced fumble, that being Nico Collins. So helmet stickers. I don't know if you still go out helmet stickers. It'd be kind of nice if they did. Coach, I feel like every week we talk about, okay, what's going on with the run game? What's going on with the run game? What's going on with the run game? Today I'm going to ask you, what went right with the run game yesterday?
What went right, I think, is balancing the carries between Motor and DP. I think both guys are really good runners, and I think having that balance where we're not wearing DP out, but having Motor come in and spell us, and Motor was able to come in and get some really nice runs.
Yep.
Offensive line, tight ends, they're doing a really good job of targeting, blocking the proper way, and us just finishing the run. The way DP finished the run in the red zone, like elite finish, the mentality, exactly what we want to see. We just continue to do that, balancing both of those guys with carries. I think that's what went right with the run game. We'll continue to head in that direction.
All right, bye week. How do you want them to approach it? You want to unplug, but not too much. How do you see it, Coach?
Yeah, definitely want the guys to unplug mentally. I think it's a grind. Like each week takes so much out of guys, right? Each day, the preparation, it takes a lot. And I want guys to, so we have this time for the bye, I want them to get away and just decompress, right? Mentally check out for a little bit.
Yeah.
And when you come back, now you're refreshed and you're ready to go for the long haul.
Yeah, absolutely. And how about for yourself? I mean, coaching staff's got to do the same. I mean, we talked about this kind of in preseason. You hadn't had a break. I mean, you get the job and you're just hitting the ground running. You get that little bit of a break before training camp, but you also get a little bit of time too, Coach. How much do you need just a second to catch your breath?
Got to get some rest.
Yeah.
Much needed rest. It's, like I said, long days for coaches and the preparation, everything that we do game plan wise. So I think it'll be definitely a good week to just, get some rest, watch some other teams schematically, see if there's some things we can improve on, things we can add to what we're doing, but definitely can get out of here a little sooner at night and go see the babies and just relax a little bit.
A lot of teams talk about a self-scout, so how much of that sort of thing do you want to undergo?
Yeah, we'll definitely go through our self-scout over these next 3 days. We'll go through a self-scout and just see where we are, defensively, offensively, see the things that we've done well, right, and things we're not doing too well, and see if we can improve upon those things, but also to see if there are any tendencies that we have, like whether it's calls with myself or with Bobby, certain calls that our opponent may be, honing in on, just seeing where we can change things, come back after the bye, just refresh.
Coach, I asked this of Matt the other day. When you're sitting there and you're watching games and you see something, you're like, ooh, I kind of like that, and you jot it down on your iPad or napkin if you're old school or whatever the case might be. When you're looking at something that you like, do you try and fit it into what you already do? Do you try and, hey, this is just something unique, it's a different front structure than we usually use? How do you kind of look at, hey, I like that, I want to use that, but I'm not totally sure how it fits in? How do you kind of go about kind of bringing something like that into the game plan that week or further weeks?
Right, those ideas are always, they're constant. You pop up, you're watching so much ball, and it's like, man, we can implement that.
Yeah.
And for me, it's when I try to implement new things, I always try to put it in the terminology of things that we already do, so to make it, as I install it to the players, hey, this is just as
like this,
like this, or this is just the same as this. So now it's okay, there's no new learning,
right?
But to an offense, we may be doing something completely different.
So just one quick note on Carolina. We'll talk more about them next week, but they announced today they'll change the play caller. They have a bye as well. How does that affect preparation for you to try to get ready for whatever they might present to you?
It's always tough going against a first-time play caller because you don't have like proven tendencies. You don't have like what he would call in these situations. So it's going to be tough. But at the end of the day, they can't throw out their entire playbook. So you just you still watch what they've done, the things that Bryce has done well, and you just try to, how can we affect him with the things that he's done well? Because as a new play caller comes in, he has to look back, just as we're doing, look back over the things that they've done well and continue to build off of those things. So that's what I'll look at schematically for him.
Coach, facing Bryce in the draft situation is kind of unique, I guess, in some sense. I would imagine you spent some time with Bryce as you led up to that. I don't want to say you use all that against him, but what did you find out about Bryce? Even though they've had some struggles, what do you find out about Bryce and what kind of quarterback you're going to be facing in a couple weeks?
Right, really, really sharp kid, right? Very smart kid. he sees the entire picture, right? And he sees it very well. Watching him throughout college, like very decisive of where he goes with the ball. I kind of say Bryce is like a point guard, right?
Yeah.
Smaller quarterback. I think he does a really good job of getting out on the edge, but pinpoint accuracy.
All right, Coach, the Amegy Bank Ask Coach question of the week. Now, I know you have small kids, and you probably find yourself watching some TV with them, right? Yeah. Maybe Disney or whatever. What is your favorite kids' movie that you've seen with them? Any shows or movies or anything that you like to watch, even though it's a kid's thing? And I've got plenty myself. We have Johnny's kids are older now.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Movie, I think, is Sing 2.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Sing 2. That's a good one. That's fun for the
Sing was great.
Fun for the parents and the kids. So the kids
we know all the songs.
Oh, yeah, I know all the songs. So that's always one that's especially my daughter. She loves that movie.
Great call. Great call. Coach, thanks a lot. Have a great bye.
Thanks, guys.